Gold, for taking out time, sharing your perspective with us on NewsX World. With that, viewers, we're shifting focus away from the Middle East towards Europe. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has once again spoken with US President Donald Trump. This is the second time in 2 days that such a telephonic conversation has taken place. Both leaders have discussed boosting air defenses, energy infrastructure and long-range strike capabilities. The Kremlin, in the meantime, has expressed deep concern over possible US supply of Tomahawk missiles, warning of escalation from all sides. Meanwhile, Zelensky says that Russia's fear shows pressure may push Moscow towards peace. Trump maintains that on the 6th of October, he had not agreed to send the Tomahawk missiles, wanting to avoid escalation. But in the meantime, a lot has changed with Russia attacking Ukraine's energy infrastructure and specifically downing the power grid as well. Zelensky has meanwhile praised his troops for holding back Russian airstrikes, with Ukraine advancing over 3 kilometers near Dobropilya and Orikhiv. He's also urged a stronger IAEA response, warning that Russia is escalating attacks on Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant as global focus shifts to the Middle East. Listen in to what the Ukrainian president has had to say.
Тиснути до цього потрібна більш чітка, чесна позиція МАГАТЕ. Росія може і мусить припинити обстріли, щоб ремонтні бригади могли працювати. Триває найдовший блекаут на Запорізькій АЕС. Вже майже 3 тижні станція на дизель-генераторах. Так не має бути. Росія користується моментом, і це зосередженість світової дипломатії на Близькому Сході. Путін пішов на ескалацію на ЗАЕС, також.
With us on the broadcast is Mr. Gilbert Doctorow, International Relations and Russian Affairs expert, joining us from Moscow. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Yet another telephonic conversation between Zelensky and Trump, even as Trump is heading to Egypt to focus on the Gaza Peace Summit. Zelensky earlier had urged Trump to build pressure on Russia to ensure that Russia comes to the negotiating table and does not escalate the attacks any further. What, in your assessment, is happening at the front lines? Because we are seeing claims by both, the Russians and the Ukrainians that they're making gains.
Well, the Ukrainians make such claims because they are pleading with Europe and the United States for further assistance. They want to demonstrate that they are actively conducting a war against Russia. But I wouldn't put much credence in their claims. Yes, there are movements here or there. There are setbacks for the Russians. There are much bigger setbacks for the Ukrainians across the whole front. So that is not really the issue of the day. But Mr. Zelensky has made his accusations with regard to Russian attack, supposed Russian attack on the nuclear power plant Zaporizhzhia, which is under Russian control. Very peculiar that you would attack something that you yourself controls. It is only the nth example of Ukraine attributing to Russia what it itself is doing. The fatality figures that Ukraine has suffered, 1.7 million, are then projected onto Russia. The attacks on the Zaporizhzhia are projected onto Russia. This is all a very consistent propaganda line coming from Kiev that was originally supported and developed with help from MI6 Britain and from the US CIA.
Indeed, and we're also seeing now the US administration seriously mulling over the requests that Zelensky has made for the Tomahawks. Will this really change anything on the ground? Because some people are claiming that it will provide Ukraine an edge.
Well, the Tomahawks are decoy. It's unlikely that any will be supplied, and it's still more unlikely that if they were supplied, they would have any significant impact on the field of battle. What is the issue here is they are a distraction from what the United States is already doing, which essentially makes it a co-belligerent with Ukraine and should be, in normal diplomatic tradition, the cause for Russia to declare war on the United States. What I have in mind is the ongoing U.S. facilitation of Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian energy infrastructure. And yesterday, we know that a fuel base in the little port town of Feodosia on the eastern coast of Crimea was effectively destroyed by such a swarm of Ukrainian drones, which were obviously guided by American intelligence. The United States is still doing this. They are providing critical intelligence and guidance information to the Ukrainians for their attacks that have destroyed a substantial part of Russia's refining infrastructure. And Mr. Putin is deliberately quiet about that because he maintains what I consider to be the hopeless objective of keeping Mr. Trump on side together with him and not joining the Ukrainians. That is a hopeless case, and it is doing great damage to Russia's deterrence.
All right, so I request you to stay on with us. We're tracking some other very crucial developments. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has asked for additional air defenses and missiles during a phone call with French President Emmanuel Macron. This is according to Zelensky's evening address. He stated that both leaders are coordinating their positions, adding that Ukrainian military officials would directly communicate their urgent needs to France. Zelensky has stated that both sides have agreed to expedite the supply of defense assistance. Listen in to what Zelensky has had to say.
Говорив сьогодні також з президентом Франції Макроном. Теж ключове – це ППО, наша стійкість, також дипломатичні заходи наступних тижнів. Ми координуємо наші позиції. Ми домовилися, що наші військові передадуть Франції найперші потреби, і ми пришвидшуємо постачання.
Still with us on the broadcast is Mr. Gilbert Doctora. What do you make of this phone call between Macron and Zelensky? And once again, Zelensky putting in a request for, further air defense systems, this time with France.
This is a public relations stunt by two losers. Mr. Macron is holding on to power in France by his fingernails. He's looking for any international event to make himself prominent in the news, as you have just done, and other media are doing the same thing, recording what he's discussing with the Ukrainians to demonstrate falsely the relevance of France to international developments and geopolitics. France has no weight whatsoever. The Russians scorn not just Macron, but the French military establishment. And so this discussion, as I said, is between two losers. Mr. Zelensky will get virtually nothing worthy of talking about from the French because they don't have it.
All right, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time, sharing your assessment of what's happening as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned. With that, viewers, we're shifting our focus to East Asia. Now, South Korea's defense minister, Ahn Gyu-bak, has revealed that North Korea is likely to have received technical assistance from Russia for its submarine development program. Now, speaking to the parliament, Ahn has confirmed that Pyongyang is acquiring various technologies to advance its capability, including the pursuit of nuclear-powered submarines and submarine-launched ballistic missiles. However, he has cautioned that this is a very premature development and they are yet to confirm if North Korea has successfully test-fired a submarine-launched ballistic missile. Now, the two countries have significantly expanded military cooperation recently, with North Korea reportedly deploying troops to support Russia in its war against Ukraine in exchange for military and economic aid. Now, South Korean intelligence has in fact furnished this report. We have been seeing efforts by the Lee Jae-myung administration in South Korea to extend an olive branch to North Korea, but this has been rebuffed time and again by Kim Jong-un, who's been citing the fact that United States is demanding nuclear disarmament by North Korea, which he says is a red line. US President Donald Trump has now stated